For the first time in 8 years, Syracuse men's basketball is 4-0 to start the season. However, that fourth win wasn't as pretty as Coach Red Autry and the Orange would have wanted. But a win is a win, and the Cuse have a date in Las Vegas with Houston. Not only the number 2 team in the country, but one of the early favorites for the national title. Can the Orange cause the upset and cement their place as a contender, or will the Cougars keep on rolling towards March? Let's get you ready on Cuse Countdown, which starts right now. Hi everyone, welcome to Cuse Countdown from inside our CitrusTV studios alongside Drew Albaugh and Dan Shalam. I'm Nicholas Waley, here to get you ready for Syracuse and number 2 Houston. Men's basketball in full swing, and for Syracuse, man, if there's any sort of test, this might be the hardest possible test that Syracuse could have going into this really difficult stretch of non-conference play. But let's start with the previous game for Syracuse basketball against Monmouth. It didn't go as most of us really expected. Syracuse came out on top 78-73 in the end, but it was a lot closer than I think any of us really expected, Drew.
Yeah, to open the show, Nick, you said, a win is a win, but this really tested that phrase because this was barely a win. 78-73, that's simply not good enough. The defense allowed 38% from 3. Justin Ray dropped a career-high 25 points for the Hawks. Last year, he averaged just 3 points. This was a wobbly win, to say the least. The last thing you want ahead of a number 2 Houston squad, Dan.
Ray also came off the bench last season and then just dropped 25 out of nowhere. And then you look at this Syracuse defense as well. This is a team that had the top scoring defense in the country coming into this game. A Hawks squad that was scoring 59 points a game against its first 2 Division I opponents. You want to talk about a test. This was the test for Syracuse, and they got an F, which can only mean bad things going forward against Houston.
But the thing is, Syracuse still ranks as the top defense in the country. They've let the least amount of points per game defensively of anybody in all of Division I. So how much can we look into that, Dan? Does that say anything about how good Syracuse has been? And does this Monmouth game it's just a little bit of a red herring to how good Syracuse defense was?
You have to obviously give credit where credit is due through these first 3 games. Syracuse looked great defensively. There's no denying that fact.
Sure.
But to let up that amount of points against Monmouth is simply unacceptable. And we saw them get exposed in ways they simply hadn't been exposed before, particularly from the 3-point line, Drew. This was a squad that only let up 8 3-pointers in their first 3 games and then magically 9 out of nowhere against the Hawks.
In the first 3 games, allowed 50 or fewer points. That's the first time that's happened since, ironically, 1950. And then it was an absolute change in Monmouth. I don't know if the Orange were a little sleepy, if they were ready for Vegas. I'm not sure what happened, but Syracuse still ranked as the best defense in the entire Division I, and right behind them, breathing down their neck, 0.1 points per game behind, the Houston Cougars.
You also have to take into stock who Syracuse has played so far this season, and then the reason that Houston, I think they should really be number 1 is because they played a formidable opponent in Auburn, and Syracuse really hasn't played a Power 14 this year.
And it's quite a powerful team that Syracuse have to go up against. But we have to talk about Kai and Anthony a little bit here, because for the first time since J.J. Starling was injured, J.J. was back in the lineup. Kai didn't start the game against Monmouth. He was really going on a tear, was leading the team in points. I mean, Drew, should J.J. Starling be in the starting lineup ahead of Kai and Anthony? Is this a question that I know a lot of people ask on social media, especially in the last week, but what do you think about that?
Yes, J.J. Starling should be in the starting lineup over Kai and Anthony. We're acting like Kai and Anthony played well against Monmouth. He had a plus-minus of -7, just 7 points, 2 for 9 against Monmouth. It's kind of like my mom in the morning without her cup of coffee in that last game against Monmouth versus the first 3 games where Kai and Anthony was all energized, ready to ball. His attitude wasn't great in that Monmouth game either. Needs to see a couple of shots fall. J.J. Starling is the experienced guard that needs to play. What do you mean no? What do you mean no?
Because if J.J. Starling...
We
J.J. Starling
4
is
games.
clearly not 100% right now, so why are you going to start a guy who's not 100%? You saw the way he was shooting free throws. Have you ever seen J.J. Starling airball 2 free throws with 3 minutes left to go in the game? I have never seen that happen
Kyan Anthony
before.
went 2 for 5
Let's
from the free throw
also mention
line,
that
Dan. He
Kyan
went 2 for
Anthony
5.
against Drexel, when he got the start, led the team in points. This is simply a matter of he wasn't in the starting lineup. He should be getting the important minutes down the stretch right now. J.J. Starling seemed like a shell of himself in that game against Monmouth. So, no reason to throw him out there again if he's not at 100%.
If your argument is, it needs Kyan to be in the starting lineup, then why was that not the case in the Binghamton game?
I mean,
the Binghamton game came off the
I'm
bench.
not saying that he needs to be in the starting lineup. I'm saying that he should be in the starting lineup for this.
So you're
Syracuse
saying he needs
team.
to be in the starting
Okay,
lineup?
I'm saying
what's
he should
the
be.
difference?
He should be getting the clutch minutes down the
Anthony's still a
stretch.
freshman. The one thing I will say,
He's 18
as
years
soon
old.
as Kyan Anthony dropped his head, put his towel over his head, that really changed the whole motivation of the team. And he is part of this depth of this team that we've seen, and there's also this energy on the sideline that we saw through the first few games, and Coach Red Autry talked about that, about the new drinking station as well.
The bench is what we call our juicing station, right? Those guys are in it. They're waiting for us. They're waiting to get in, right? They provide energy. They got the juice, and once they get in the game, they bring the juice. To answer the question, who drives it? We got a bench captain. That's Noah Lobdell. He's the guy that is making sure everyone is, bringing the energy and bringing the juice. It's a big job. It's a big responsibility.
There's certainly powerful words from Coach Red about Noah Lobdell, who's only managed a few minutes this season for Syracuse against Drexel. But Dan, I want to go to you. Just the depth of this team and the energy of this team that we really just went missing against Monmouth. What does what Coach Red say really emphasize about where
I
this
talked
team
to a
sits?
few people that were in the Dome the other day, and they said that the energy as a whole was just lacking. It seemed like the juicing station was at 0% in that game against Monmouth, which is simply unacceptable for this team, especially when you have guys on that juicing station like Sadiq White who are fouling out of the game. Not sure why Bryce Zephyr is in the game with 30 seconds left to go. And Tyler Betsy is injured. We want to talk about the depth of this team. It's basically vanished over the last 2 games for Syracuse. The juicing station needs to get its rest before Vegas because it's looking a little bit shaky right now.
Syracuse averages 31 points off the bench against Monmouth, just 15. 3 guys off of the bench that could play quite a bit against Houston: Sadiq White, Tyler Betsy, and Bryce Zephyr. All 3 of those guys give something different. Adrian Autry can go to Sadiq White for some defense, some high-flying ability. Tyler Betsy, the corner threes. If he can knock one down, that can change the game. And then, of course, Bryce Zephyr, a rebound hawk. He can do it all. Can't hit a free throw, though. Did go 0 for 2 down the stretch against Monmouth. By the way, Syracuse, 56%
That's
against
a whole nother
Holy
discussion.
smokes,
That
we
was
haven't
another
even talked
problem.
about that.
And it's certainly a problem.
So
but
much wrong.
You got to understand as well, we just going back to Kyan Anthony real quick, like he can come off the bench and play 25 minutes and score 20 points. That means he's getting the bench points and he's still, quote unquote, a starter. So I think there's a lot of positives still to take from this team, especially the bench. But when we come back, it's time to roll the dice. It is Vegas, baby. After all, Syracuse and Houston going head to head in Las Vegas. Don't go anywhere. We've got a fun game coming up next.
Looking for these? You drive Buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown from our CitrusTV studios alongside Drew Albaugh and Dan Shalam. I'm Nicholas Waley. Well, it's time, fellas, to roll the dice. It is Vegas, Syracuse and Houston in the showdown down in the Sin City. This is going to be fun. We're going to play the odds a little bit here. We're going to go up against the casino, but The first one for me, I'm going to go to you, Drew. You know, going into this showcase, there's still so many question marks about this Syracuse team. Who do you think is going to lead the way for Syracuse?
Maybe the biggest question mark of the season so far. I'm going to roll the dice on J.J. Starling, leading scorer for the Orange, over 18 points last season. It hasn't come to be this year because of the injury, but J.J. Starling, when he gets going, is bar none the best player on this team outside of potentially Donnie Freeman. J.J. Starling, against a team like Houston that hounds the ball pressure, is going to be absolutely pivotal. If J.J. Starling succeeds, Syracuse succeeds.
I don't know why you're so obsessed with J.J. Starling. This is a guy that is only good at scoring. He does not defend. He can't shoot the three. He cannot assist. And that's why it leads me to Donnie Freeman being the guy that needs to lead the way for Syracuse out there in Las Vegas, and he has led the way. That's the thing for this team going into this game. You look at the first two, team high 20 points in both of them. And then you go to that Drexel game, Kyan Anthony led the team in scoring. But against Monmouth, it was once again Donnie Freeman had 18 points in this one. He's been so dominant. He's been doing it in the paint. You also saw him hit some threes. He's been rebounding inside. He's really been doing everything you could want for Syracuse. They need to keep feeding him the basketball if they want to take down Houston.
And this is a big occasion for Syracuse. First is Houston, then Kansas, then one more of these really powerful teams. There will be a lot of eyeballs on this Syracuse team, and when the lights shine the brightest, there is normally at least one that struggles. Dan, who's going to struggle in Vegas?
You're going to hate me for this one, but I'm going to go with Kyan Anthony being the one
Well,
that
I thought you were going to say J.J. Starling.
No, I wanted to, right? But no, I'm going to go with Kyan Anthony because I think going against Houston, he's still just a freshman at the end of the day. I think that's the thing that we have to remember here. And he's only played against 4 non-conference opponents who are really not high quality. Kyan has not seen a defense like Houston. They're going to swarm him. We saw him get thrown the double team in that game against Monmouth, and he was shut down. He only had 7 points. So if Monmouth can figure out a way to shut down Kyan Anthony, I feel like Houston could do the exact same thing even better.
Hey, Dan, have you ever heard of the word hypocrite? Because that's what you are, my friend. Kyan Anthony in the starting lineup. Now all of a sudden he's going to struggle.
I said he should be. I did not say he will be.
Oh, come on. I'm going to go with Nate Kings. This is a guy that has not played against real competition his entire career. He's played one ranked team in 4 years at the college basketball level. And you think Nate Kings is going to come in against a number 2 Houston squad, against the best defense in college basketball, and all of a sudden perform? I don't think so. Nate Kings is not going to get it done.
It's certainly a question mark, especially with three-point shooting. Nate Kings has really struggled, hasn't really lived up to the hype, I think. I'm more in line with Drew here, and I'm going to go to you here because, you know, as the dealer, I get to do what I want. But, you know, because this is such an important stretch for Syracuse now, we've gone through the Monmouths and the Delaware States, and now it's where, like I mentioned, this is where there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this Syracuse team. 3 massive games, starting with Houston and then Kansas. Drew, how many wins does Syracuse get in this tournament?
If you're the dealer, Nick, then I'm going to need you to give me a blackjack, but Syracuse is going to give anything but just 1 win. I do think they come away with 1, not against Houston, not against Kansas, but it's going to be in that 3rd game on either Wednesday or on Thanksgiving Thursday, because in that 3rd contest, it's going to be against UNLV, Maryland, Rutgers, or Notre Dame most likely. Those teams are all unranked. I see no reason why Syracuse can't sneak away with 1 there, and the Orange will be battle-tested at that point. A couple of maybe close losses. I think the Kansas game is actually going to be pretty close, Dan. I think Syracuse comes away with 1 victory. They're going to roll the dice in Vegas and come away with 1.
The only way that I see Syracuse winning a game is if they play UNLV, who is not a Power 4 team. And if you go by the odds and how things work in Vegas, it does not look good for Syracuse. Give me 0 wins out there in the Sin City for the Orange. Not going to be close against Houston. I think you and I could agree on that one. You also said that they're going to lose against Kansas.
Totally agree.
And then Syracuse against a possible Rutgers, Notre Dame, or Maryland. Not confident in them beating either of those teams. I think the only way is against UNLV. But that's also saying that this Orange team gets beaten down and blown out in the first 2 to the point where the team morale is low. And they're going to be on the road.
With the other
that's
teams,
literally like a true road game if you're playing UNLV in that last game. I don't like it for Syracuse. I got them with 0 wins.
A road game with no fans. UNLV has no support in Vegas. It's a neutral site. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you think that even without Derek Peterson, that Syracuse doesn't have a chance against Kansas? Dan,
No.
There's a
Kansas is a
chance.
blue blood
There's a chance.
program. Have we seen this
But
Syracuse
they're without their best
no
player.
Way,
They're
no way.
one of the top 5 picks in the draft.
Top 5 stock with us.
You
Have we
know
seen
what?
our
That's
Red
enough.
Entree crew
We got to
have
talk about
performed?
Houston.
Vegas.
We have to talk about Houston. Man,
Well,
you guys are degenerates. Well, you know what? It's time to talk about the Cougars, the top 2 team in the country. It's going to be a real test for Syracuse. We'll talk about the Cougars after this break. We're back inside our CitrusTV studios for Cuse Countdown alongside Drew Albaugh and Dan Shalam. I'm Nicholas Waley. Well, we've talked a little bit about Syracuse. We've even gambled a little bit, but time to talk about Houston. The number 2 team in the country just came off of a win against Ryder today. Not exactly that was any challenge for them, but this is a program that is historically just so dominant. They've made it to the national championship last year, but ultimately, the Cougars have never won it all. And Drew, despite that fact, this is a Cougars team that certainly is in with a chance of winning the Natty this year.
Oh, for sure. If you flash back all the way to 2018, and to keep in the gambling spirit of today's show, and you put a little money on Houston to make the Sweet 16 every year since then, you'd be making a lot of money because they made the Sweet 16 every single year since 2018. I know last year ended at the mountaintop, but it was a great season. Lost in the national championship against Florida. Before that, 1 seed. 2023, another 1 seed. Kelvin Sampson has this Houston Cougars team perennially at the top of the college basketball landscape, and it continues here in 2025, 2026.
He is simply so dominant with this program, Drew, and I fill out my March Madness bracket every single year. It feels like Houston's always a number 1 seed, and I always want to pick them because they always look so good in the regular season. But you still can't deny the fact that this program has become a blue blood in college basketball. They really weren't before Kelvin Sampson arrived down there in Houston. He has completely turned around this program, and they are a powerhouse to be messed with every single year.
And once again, they're off to a great start. 5-0 for the Cougars to start. That most recent win coming tonight against Ryder. I mean, they had 71 points through just 28 minutes of action. I mean, it's truly phenomenal, Dan, because this is a Cougars team that it doesn't just shoot the ball great, but their defense is top notch. I mean, they're once again just dominant.
How can you deny this defense? In the last 4 games, they've held teams to under 50 points outside of that one against Auburn. And I just want to turn the clock back to last year because Houston started 4-1 last season, and that loss was to Auburn. This time around, they beat Auburn in the first 5 games. That shows you that this team is on a mission, and you just look at those box scores. Man, oh man, if I'm Syracuse, I am quaking in my boots waiting to play this team because I am just nervous about how aggressive this defense is and how hot they've been playing so far start-wise.
Quicken's the right word, but I do think Auburn showed with a 1-point loss. Maybe this team's beatable for an edge-ranked team. Syracuse isn't that right now, but Houston early on maybe showing signs of faltering. But you're right, this Kelvin Sampson unit is rolling 5-0. One of the best defenses, we've already mentioned it, in the entire college basketball landscape. That's really the bread and butter of this Cougars team. It continues against Syracuse on Monday.
Well, lucky you, Drew. We're going to talk about the defense a little bit more because they, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, they're number 2 in the country when it comes to opponent points per game. And that is impressive in itself. And I know, Dan, you mentioned this a little bit earlier. You mentioned this to me off camera, but they probably should be number 1 considering that the kind of opponents that they've had. But Drew, I mean, what have you made of the Houston defense, and just how good have they been?
Yeah, as a basketball nerd myself, I watched Kelvin Sampson's defense, and I am in shock. My jaw is on the floor. They play this blitz defense that no one else in the nation can replicate. Good luck having any ball screens outside the perimeter because they double team the heck out of it. It's constant decision making for guards. Constant decision-making for guards for a Syracuse team that really doesn't have a true point guard. That's a recipe for disaster. This blitz defense, one of the best in the entire nation. I mean, you see the numbers on your screen there. Syracuse's defense staunch as well, but Houston in a different level, especially when you take into account they played Auburn earlier this season.
I just don't think that we've seen the same aggressiveness from Syracuse early on this season that we have Houston. When Syracuse goes and plays the Cougars in Las Vegas, you're going to see the double teams just come out of nowhere, and I don't think J.J. Starling or Kyan Anthony, they have the guards to handle that right now. They're just going to get swamped just in the court all over the place. Right now, for me, I think this defense is just electrifying. If you want a model of what Syracuse should be down the line, go to Houston because they are playing defense the right way.
How about Nathan George, though? I do think maybe he could be the recipe for success for Syracuse handling the ball. Maybe he gets it done. I'm not too sure, though.
Well, two of those players that certainly will be swarming the likes of J.J. Starling and Nate George will be Kingston Fleming and as well as Emmanuel Sharp. Those two have been excellent to start here. Two of the best guards in the country and two of the best guards in the Big 12 as well. Dan, what makes the backcourt so strong for the Cougs?
I mean, it's really that these guys can drive to the hoop and that they can also score. I mean, they do a plethora of different things. Both of these guys are averaging over 16 points a game right now, which is just absurd for this team. Sharp was the 2025 Big Ten Player of the Tournament, and then you go over to Fleming's side, and he's shooting over 40% from beyond the arc right now. Drew, I really like the fact that these guys can not only score from inside of the arc, but also a threat from beyond the arc.
Oh, for sure. Fleming also a freshman, Sharp a senior, but it doesn't matter. Both of these players, so good. They both played 5 games. Fleming's doing the bulk of the work in points per game, over 17 as a freshman. That is ridiculous stuff, and it's the efficiency for Fleming's 71%, and why not add 5 assists to his name as well?
Well, guys, as good as the backcourt has been for Houston, the front court has been just as good, if not better. Chris Sanak Jr. was a 5-star All-American out of New Orleans, and the big man has already impressed, averaging nearly a double-double in his first few games for the Cougars. He's going up against someone who's also averaging a similar stat line. That someone is William Kyle III, which makes this our Cuse Countdown marquee matchup.
How about this for a marquee matchup, William Kyle and Sanak Jr.? And I'm going to start with William Kyle. You know what a kangaroo, a trampoline, and William Kyle all have in common?
Please.
They can jump out of the building. A 44-inch vertical jump. That's as high as Ja Morant. And look how he just leaps into the sky, says, "Get that out of my house." He can do it defensively, and yeah. He can also do that. Jumps out of the building, the alley-oop slam. He's had an alley-oop dunk in every single game this year. And why not make it another one? Rather, it's just a little touch pass off the rebound. He can do it on the boards. He can do it defensively. He can do it the alley-oop slam. And he can also have a little bit of finesse in the paint. How about the hop step? Patience inside the restricted area, goes up and the foul. We're going to watch it again in slow-mo. William Kyle gets the ball, immediately gives it back. He flashes to the cup, takes his time, the hop step, and the finish. William Kyle has been secretly maybe the best player for Syracuse outside of Donnie Freeman.
He certainly has, but one thing that Sanak Jr. has that Kyle just doesn't is the fact to actually score outside of the paint.
That's true.
We're going to show you it right now. Chris Sanak Jr. has just been so dominant. Look at this. He just goes up, grabs the board immediately. This guy is such a threat all around the court. Look, he has the ball right here. Then he's going to come off the screen. You're still waiting. When's he going to get the ball? He just does a nice job disguising himself, and then he's ready to pull the trigger right when he gets it, contested in his face. Swish. This guy is just a 3-point threat. He can also get it done inside of the paint as well. Look, he's going to drive down and pull up right from the free throw line, no problem. While he falls down, he is so strong. He can get up there. He can rebound to the rim. Kristanak Jr. is a guy who really has it all compared to William Kyle, who is just a one-trick pony. There you go. Kristanak Jr. also able to get in his dunks. He is just such a good player, and he can knock down the corner three as well. Drew, could you ask for much more out of the freshman? I really don't think so.
I'll give you that. William Kyle's going to have 4 blocks against him this next week. I know, Dan. All right, on the other side of Cuse Countdown, we got our keys and finally our predictions in this matchup between Syracuse and Houston on Cuse Countdown.
We're back. It's Cuse Countdown, wrapping up shop here for Syracuse and Houston alongside Drew Albaugh and Dan Shalam. I'm Nicholas Waley. Guys, this Players Era tournament is certainly a huge occasion. There's also a bunch of other teams involved. Syracuse, they don't just play Houston, they play Kansas as well on Tuesday. And this is a Jayhawks team that's ranked in the top 25, but they are without Derek Peterson for this game. Drew, does that give Syracuse a chance?
I think it does. I think it's going to be a close game. And you look at the numbers on your screen there, a lot of dark blue shaded numbers for Syracuse, which means the orange leading points per game, opponents points per game, rebounds per game, assists. It doesn't matter. Syracuse is on top. But there is a caveat to it. Stats don't always tell the full story, and Kansas has already played multiple ranked teams, while Syracuse has played Monmouth and beat them by just 5.
I really don't buy too much stock into these numbers because if you look at the way Adrian Autry's squads and how they've played in non-conference tournaments over the last 2 years, it has been ugly time after time. Ranked opponent or not, when they go up against a Power 4 squad, it does not go well for Syracuse. I really don't see much changing this year.
And it's certainly going to be a challenge, not just in the Kansas game, but in the main one for Syracuse, the first one against number 2 Houston. Fellas, this is quite the test for Syracuse. It doesn't get much tougher than this. And Drew, I'm going to go to you first. What is your key to the game?
My key to the game is controlling the tempo. Syracuse has to take a deep breath and relax against this Houston team that's going to try to do everything in its power to speed up SU, and for a good reason. I already mentioned the blitz defense. They're going to blitz the heck out of these Syracuse guards. If they feed into it, it's going to be a long night. If they can take a deep breath, pause, take their time a little bit, Syracuse could hang in this ball game. And with 5 minutes to go, if you're within 10 points, that's all you need.
For me, it's got to start from the defense. You talk about Houston's defense. Syracuse, by the numbers right now, has the best defense. So the Orange need to show that off if they want to have a chance in this game. That Monmouth one, that could maybe be a fluke, but you're going to learn lessons when you give up over 70 points, especially to that team. If Syracuse can make the adjustments from that game, I could see them coming out with a win in this one.
Really?
Well, before we get to your guys' predictions, let's take a look at how our friends did last week on Cuse Countdown. And you know what? Once again, Ben Chadwick.
Jeez.
And this guy is just on a roll. He's not just he didn't just get the score at least right. He got Syracuse getting a win. But guess what? He's leading the way. It's unbelievable. I had to give him my trophy last week for the last time that anyone on Citrus TV predicted the score right. And there, Ben Chadwick at the top. And wait, you guys are doing all right.
Nah, I'm doing pretty bad.
Actually,
us as a crew, we're in last.
We're 10th, 11th, and 12th, Nick.
You know what? Yeah, top 12. you know. But quickly, Drew, go to you. What's your prediction for Houston against Syracuse?
It's not going to be close. Syracuse loses 74-52. Syracuse maybe makes it close in the first half, but ultimately, the tempo I talk about, SU is going to get it crunched down by this good Houston team.
Unlike Syracuse's counterparts, the football team, I see this one close for a little bit. The Orange stay in it, but they end up losing this game 83-65, the final.
I have Houston winning 81-70. Syracuse will put up a fight, but Houston
11-point
just a little bit too strong. Well, that is it for Cuse Countdown, and not just tonight, but for us three for the entire semester. Thank you so much for tuning in all semester long, and for our producer Dan Papillo, and for the rest of us, thank you so much. Enjoy the game.